Hi, my name is Kristen and this is Kristen Craves Books. As you can see, all my Christmas decor is down. It's the start of a new year. I'm a little slow to be putting out my January most anticipated releases. The end of the year and the beginning of the year is always kind of busy with family and decorating and hosting and cooking and all that kind of stuff. So I just haven't had the chance to sit down and film in a while. And I also have to do my best books of the year video, and that'll come out next. So hopefully this week, maybe Saturday. But I really want to get this video out to you because I've already missed January 2nd, and there is one book that I'm really excited for. And something I'm going to start doing, I did this last month and I'm going to do it all throughout the year, is talk about pre-order incentives, because I realized when I did it last month that a lot of people didn't even know that pre-order campaigns were a thing. So if you pre-order a book, a lot of authors and publishing companies will allow you to show your receipt, and they will send you little incentives in the mail, like signed book plates, bookmarks. Some authors are doing character overlays to put inside your book, journals, like some really cool things, and you can enter into bigger giveaways and stuff. And even a few of the authors on my list in January are accepting library requests. So if you request their book at your library, you prove that to them, they will send you the pre-order incentive, which I just love that they're encouraging people to use their libraries like that. So I'm going to let you know all of the ones that I came across. If I missed any, let me know. I'll leave links to those in the description and in the comments. And it's just a great way to support the author, obviously support libraries in some cases as well, and get some goodies out of it. So why wouldn't you? And I have my eye on a few of these. I'll also let you know if they're US or international, because a lot of them do end up being US only, unfortunately for us who don't live in the US. And then I will let you know the date you have until to submit your receipts, and I'll give you the links and all that. So let's just get into this. I'm rambling already. Okay, the one book for January 2nd that I missed, that you can already go and grab, there was a pre-order incentive. I'm sad that I didn't get a chance to film this before that, but this is A Fragile Enchantment by Alison Saft. First of all, I love everything about the US cover of this book. It is so whimsical and ethereal. I'm into it. It's a YA fantasy romance, and I'm just going to read you the little tagline. It says, a magical dressmaker commissioned for a royal wedding finds herself embroiled in scandal when a gossip columnist draws attention to her undeniable chemistry with the groom. That sounds messy, and I love it. So the fantasy element comes to this because our main character, Neve, is able to weave emotions and memories into her fabrics and the clothing that she makes, and she's commissioned to make the outfits for this royal wedding, and this is a huge opportunity for her. But she's also learned that because of her magic, there's some kind of thing where she's not going to live much longer. So she has to jump on this opportunity to be able to support her family long after she's gone. So she ends up in Avaland, where the royal wedding is taking place. And it's a place she's always dreamed of, but it's far from a fairy tale because there's a lot of unrest happening and brewing within the working class. So Kit is the groom and also our love interest, and he's abrasive at first. They don't get along, but then she finds out that he's being dragged down the aisle for political reasons, and they start to have undeniable chemistry. People are seeing it. This anonymous columnist notices it and is starting to write stories, but decides to blackmail them to say that if you uncover some of the royal secrets, I will stop posting these columns about you. So she jumps on that because she doesn't want to be exposed. Obviously, it's a scandalous to be attracted to the groom of this wedding you're making the outfits for. And I'm assuming there's some way that she's gonna have to save her life at the same time. I do like books that talk about dressmakers. I don't know what that is, but especially in YA, that seems to be a trope that I am drawn to. And again, this cover, everything about this is calling to me. So that's already out and available. Okay, so moving on to January 9th, we have an underwater horror. And it's YA, and I discovered in 2023 that I love underwater horror, but it's hard to find. So I'm excited about this one. This one is called Somewhere in the Deep. Our main character is Crescent, and her parents have passed away, and they have left her the burden of a pretty large debt. And the only way that she can make payments for this debt and maybe eventually save enough to leave this island is to fight battles in these underground pits. And she's not just fighting humans, she's fighting monstrous creatures, but something goes horribly wrong and she is banned from being able to fight anymore, and obviously that is devastating for her because she can no longer make any money. She's then offered a deal where her debts will be completely erased if she agrees to join this hunting party and act as a bodyguard for people that are going underground on a rescue mission. She's now trapped in these underground caves with her childhood enemy and strangers who would absolutely kill her if they knew who her parents were. Not only that, they soon discover creatures that she thought were only real in legends, and if somebody doesn't want her to make it out of alive, so she has to escape before she's lost in the dark. Everything about that sounds good to me. It's got that fantasy element, but also horror and the underwater caves and stuff. It's just so many of my buzzwords. Really curious about that one. I think the cover of this is really cool as well. Of course, we have to have a YA contemporary romance that looks really sweet. This is called Dungeons and Drama. It's by Kristy Boyce, and it follows Riley, whose dream is to be a director on Broadway, and the first step of that is to bring back her high school spring musical, but she is caught taking her mother's car without permission. She is then grounded and forced to work after school at her dad's game shop. There she meets Nathan, who she makes a deal with. He will take over her shifts, and she will start flirting with him to make his gamer girl crush jealous. But in order to do that, she has to join their game of Dungeons and Dragons. She ends up loving this more than she ever thought she would, and of course she starts to develop feelings for Nathan, and maybe her priorities change. So that just sounds really, really sweet, and there is a pre-order incentive if that caught your eye. So you get a signed book plate, a double-sided bookmark, a name tag, a sticker sheet with art from the book. So that is a lot. And this is US only, but it is one that accepts pre-orders from any of your retailers and library requests. So if you put in a library request for this, you can get all that stuff. So just submit your receipt by January 8th to get all those goodies if you're in the US. I am co-hosting Once Upon a Readathon as we speak, and it's not too late to join. But I was also hosting in June when we did the Treasure Island edition, and my team was Team Djinn, and that really opened my eyes to the fact that I love Djinn stories, so I will always look out for them, and we are getting one in January. This is called The Djinn Waits 100 Years by Shubnum Khan. It's a sweeping atmospheric novel about a ruined mansion by the sea, the djinn that haunts it, and a curious girl who unearths the tragedy that happened 100 years previously. So the mansion in question is called Akbar Manzil, and it was once a grand estate, but is now a falling apart, isolated boarding house for misfits. And we follow Sana and her father, who have just run away and ended up at this boarding house after a really tragic event, and they're just looking for somewhere to live. The mansion has unsettling qualities, a strange assortment of bones in the overgrown garden, and a mysterious figure seen to move sometimes at night. And nobody else who is boarding at this place wants to investigate any further, but Sana is curious and she decides to look into it. She ends up discovering a bedroom that seems to be frozen in time. There's photographs of a couple in love and letters and things, and it gets her curious about this mansion's history and past. Through all of this, a grieving djinn has been watching Sana and haunting the place, and we learn that the djinn was in love with the previous owner's second wife, who happened to die tragically and suddenly. So Sana obviously dredges up some secrets and stuff. This djinn gets involved. Haunted house, djinn story. I'm gonna love it. Looks fantastic. Next up is a historical sapphic romance, and it's called Don't Want You Like a Best Friend. This is by Emma R. Alban. We're actually getting a sequel to this, I believe, in August, so you don't have to wait too long if you like this first one, but I just want to shout it out because it's called You're the Problem, It's You, which just sounds hilarious. But this first one seems to have Parent Trap vibes. It says 2 debutantes distract themselves from having to seek husbands by setting up their widowed parents and instead find their perfect match in each other. We're following Beth, who has to find a wealthy husband this season in order for her mom and herself to not become homeless. And then we're also following Gwen, whose father is like a rakish earl, and she's actually in her 4th season, and she's not looking for a husband at all because she knows that her father will always support her. Her and Beth quickly hit it off, and Gwen comes up with a great plan to set up their parents so that Beth herself doesn't have to get married because her mother will then inherit the wealth. But I think that their parents have a bit of a history and they hate each other. And through the course of trying to set these two up, they realize they have feelings for one another, but somebody is really courting Beth, and Gwen has to tackle the idea that she might have to share Beth in the future and what that means for them. So this just sounds beautiful, and there is a pre-order incentive. It's US only. Once again, you have until January 7th. You get a signed and personalized copy, so you can actually go to the bookstore and type in what you want the author to say on there, and you get this art print by Lenny Kaufman, who is one of my favorite illustrators. So that is really fun. I wish I was in the US for that one, but this does look like a book I will want to read. January 16th, the most exciting release day maybe of the entire year, because we're getting the next Emily Wilde. This is Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands by Heather Fawcett. I'm going to be rereading the first book for the 3rd time before this comes out, and picking up this on release day. I already have it pre-ordered, though there is no pre-order incentive. I've looked many times. I've talked about this first book a million times. I'll be talking about it in my next video. It's a sequel, so I don't want to say anything other than what the brief tagline is, because I think if you read the full synopsis of the sequel, it will spoil the first book for you. But it says, when mysterious fairies from other realms appear at her university, Emily Wilde must uncover the secrets before it's too late. Very basic, who cares? It's Emily Wilde, I'm gonna read it, I'm gonna love it. The next one that I'm so excited for, this is a huge release day for me, is Most Ardently by Gabe Novoa. This is the next book in, I forget they're calling that series now, is it Remixed series, where they take classics and turn them into YA books, but make them a little bit more hopeful and more diverse. So this is our Pride and Prejudice version, you know, my favorite book of all time, one of them, and one of my favorite stories to be retold. So I cannot wait this cover. I'm so into this. It says a trans boy searches for a future and a romance in which he can live and love openly as himself. It's set in London in 1812 and it's following Oliver, and he's feeling very trapped because the world and most of his friends and family view him as a woman named Elizabeth, and the only time he can really feel like himself is when he sneaks out at night and is rightfully dressed as a boy, and during one of these nights out is when he meets Darcy. Darcy is somebody who was once rude to Elizabeth at a social gathering, but he's actually being very sweet to Oliver, and they start to become really close, and Oliver is thinking that maybe the life he always dreamed of having is possible. The only problem is that suitors are becoming bolder and his mom is desperate for him to get married. If you know Pride and Prejudice, you understand all that and what's gonna happen. And there is a pre-order and it's international, and you have until January 15th to enter this one. You get a signed bookplate, a matching bookmark, and my favorite thing, you get entered into a giveaway with a chance to win a scarf that is knitted by the author. How freaking sweet is that? Then we have some sci-fi here. This is The Tusk of Extinction by Ray Naylar. When you bring back a long extinct species, there's more to success than DNA. So Moscow has somehow resurrected the mammoth, but they quickly realized that just because you brought this mammoth back doesn't mean it knows how to be a mammoth. So somebody has to teach it how to do that. And the only person that can do that is Dr. Damara. The problem is she's long deceased. So they take her digitalized consciousness and implant it into this mammoth, and I guess we're seeing the world through the doctor's eyes within the mammoth. So this could be really weird and not work, or really weird and really work for me. So it could go either way, but just that whole thing is very interesting to me. Then we have So Let Them Burn by Kamilah, and this is a Jamaican-inspired fantasy following a God's blessed heroine who's forced to choose between saving her sister or protecting her homeland. Our main character is Farron, and she has the ability to channel the power of the gods, and 5 years previously she used this divine power to free the people of her land, and the enemies were a dragon riding empire. So if you're into dragons like I am, we do have dragons in this. It says that she's forced to join an international peace treaty where she just has to go use her magic, put on a show, and come home. But something happens when she's there, and she brought her sister along, and her sister ends up forming a connection with an enemy dragon, and she is told that the only way to break this connection is to kill her sister. So obviously she doesn't want to do that, and she wants to find another way. And from what I can gather, we also get the sister perspective, so that'll be interesting to see her forming that connection with the dragon and learning things about herself that she didn't know previously. So that sounds fantastic. And it's another book with a pre-order incentive. I told you we have a lot of them, and this one's international. You have till January 16th to submit your receipts, and you get a signed and personalized copy. So again, you can write what you want the author to sign on there, and a gold foiled art print. I love gold foiling. This art print is stunning, so check that out. And then January 18th in the UK, we have a book coming out. So if you're like me and you're in North America, you can use Blackwell's to order this one if you have your eye on it, because I do think it's one that has been talked about a lot already. And it's Voyage of the Damned by Francis White. So Concordia has maintained peace between its provinces for 1,000 years, and they decide to do this whole celebration where they're going to go on a 12-day excursion to this sacred mountain, and aboard this ship are heirs from each of the provinces. So there are 12 heirs on this ship. Each of them have been graced with some sort of magical ability called the Blessing, except for one. I think you pronounce his name Gunamendes. He's a class clown, a slacker, and all-around disappointment. But then a beloved heir is murdered, and everybody aboard is obviously a suspect. And as more and more bodies are piling up, our main character has to become an unlikely hero. So it seems like you got that fantasy element, but also an isolated murder mystery, so that could be really good. Moving on to January 23rd, we have Fae Bound by Saara El-Arifi, which is on my TBR for this month. It sounds perfect for the readathon that I'm doing, and it's already getting a ton of hype. I always read the back of this because I think it's so good. It says, divided by blood, imprisoned by fate, bound by desire, welcome to the intoxicating world of the Fae. So we're following Yrinn, who is a warrior within the Elven army and has known nothing but violence, but her sister Letty is trying to make a living as a diviner. But a fatal mistake ends up in both of their exiles. They are banished to an enchanted wood where they stumble upon the Fae court, which is hard to believe because Fae haven't been seen in centuries. But now the sisters are thrust into the seductive world of the Fae, and that's all that we know about it. So I'm very curious to see how the Fae are written in this one, if there's romances and things like that. This edition is beautiful. I will be reading it soon. Into the Sunken City by Dinesh Theroux is a unique twist on a fantasy island, a second chance romance, and a thrilling heist. I feel like we're getting a lot of heist stories this year, and I'm all about it. It's actually set in a city in Arizona that is sinking, and our main character Djinn is trying to make ends meet and support her sister after their father's death, but that is a struggle. A drifter then offers her a chance at the score of a lifetime. It's hidden treasure or gold within the sunken city of Las Vegas. Djinn has stopped diving after the death of her father, but her sister is determined to join, so she goes with her because there's no way she's gonna let her sister go alone. Of course, a ragtag crew is assembled. We gotta love it, and her ex-boyfriend just happens to be part of the group. So are we getting a second chance romance? Seems like it. Crumbling ruins, sea beasts, corsairs, and mysterious figures lie in wait. Sounds fun. Next is a YA contemporary romance called My Fair Brady by Brian D. Kennedy. Wade is passed over for the lead role in his school musical, and that's made even worse by the fact that the role was given to his ex-boyfriend, who happened to dump him because he felt that he was way too self-absorbed. We also follow Elijah, who's part of the stage crew, and nobody at the school seems to even know he exists, and he just thinks that by joining the stage crew, he's gonna once again blend into the background and be dismissed. The two of them have this really disastrous backstage run-in, and Elijah comes up with an arrangement. He thinks that if Wade can teach him how to be popular, it'll make Wade look like he cares about somebody other than himself, and maybe he will get his ex-boyfriend back. Wade then jumps headfirst into turning Elijah into the new improved Brady, and then starts to develop feelings for him. And there is a pre-order for this, a bookmark, sticker, and a signed bookplate. It's international. Library requests are included again in this one, and you have until January 22nd for that. We have the Invocations by Crystal Sutherland, who wrote House of Hollow, which is a book I've had my eye on. I do want to get to that one eventually. This is a darkly seductive witchy thriller where, though both men and demons lurk in the shadows, girls refuse to go quietly into the night. We're following Saara, whose sister was murdered by a serial killer, and she is going to do anything, even if that means joining the occult and partaking in it, to bring her sister back from the dead. We're also following Jude, who made a deal with a demon that has gone terribly wrong. Flowers and insects die in her wake, and something is haunting her at night. Then we're also following Emmer, who is the daughter of a witch, and she thinks that she has a solution to both of their problems because she sells spells to desperate women who are needing solutions and help in exchange for parts of their soul. She also has a dark past of her own, and her clients are being murdered one by one, so the three of them team up to find the killer. And again, there's a pre-order. It's this deluxe journal, which I think is really cool. It's US only, and you have until January 29th to get that in. Two more, and then I can let you go. We have The City of Stardust by Georgia Summers. A young woman descends into a seductive magical underworld of power-hungry scholars, fickle gods and monsters bent on revenge to break her family's curse. So we're following the Everly family, and throughout the generations, some of the most promising members of this family have disappeared. And in this case, we're following Violet, whose mother has disappeared, but it's because she's gone to try and find a way to break the curse. So the family's tormentor is this woman named Penelope, who never forgets a debt, and she never seems to age. And she comes to Violet one day looking for her mother and tells her, you have 10 years to find your mom, or you're gonna take her place. So we embark on this journey of Violet descending into the underworld where there are monstrous creatures, but she also has to contend with Penelope's assistant, Alexander, and I assume they could have some kind of hate to love romance. I'm here for it. And last we have Wonder and the Jerk by Jumada Emil. Two brothers must come together to solve the murder of the most popular girl in school after one of them is caught fleeing the scene of her death. So we're following Amir, who has a budding relationship with the most popular girl at school named Chloe, and during the final hours of Mardi Gras, he decides to walk her home to make sure that she's safe, but then he wakes up the next morning on her couch and Chloe's dead upstairs. She's been stabbed to death. He flees the scene, and is eventually caught. He is a black teen fleeing the scene of a popular white girl's murder, so all of New Orleans agrees it's an open and shut case. He must be guilty, even though he is innocent. His #1 ally in proving his innocence happens to be Marcel, who is his half-brother, and they have a very complicated relationship. But Marcel's hoping that by working with Amir and helping prove his innocence, it will also repair their relationship. There is a pre-order for this one. It is international. You have until January 19th as far as I can tell. You get 2 character art postcards, a signed bookplate, and 27-inch glass Mardi Gras bead necklace, which is different and fun. So let me know if I missed anything. I know I missed some popular ones. They're just not books that are on my radar, like Sarah J. Maas's new book. I love seeing the hype of that. It's not me. So there's another one too that I feel like is really popular that I am forgetting about. But I digress. These are the ones that I am interested in. Let me know which ones you are most excited to read if you're going to be reading Emily with me, because I just love Emily so much. And I will see you next month in February to talk about the February releases, because I've already got some books on that one and they're very, very exciting. I'll talk to y'all soon in my best books of the year video. Thank you again for the support. Bye for now.